Good morning and welcome to today's webinar, Advanced Features in RoadEng Part 1. My name is Shadia Serrano. I'm your host, and with me is one of our super engineers, Emmanuel Ameli, who will be the main presenter today. This webinar is basically about how to customize different parts of RoadEng, whether that is a ground type table, a custom attribute for your reporting, or screen layout. Before we start, I would like to mention a few pieces of housekeeping. Please ask questions and engage with us through the Q&A section of the GoToWebinar panel. We will address all the questions at the end of the webinar. Second, this session is being recorded and will be available in our YouTube channel. All enrolled registrants will receive an email link to the recording. Okay, here is our little agenda. Oh, let me pass it. Nice. We will be demonstrating various customizations that you can do to RoadEng. These ones include customizing the software setup, working the ground type table, and how to customize attributes for reporting. Many of you might not be aware of all the different elements in RoadEng that you can customize, including screen layout, data input specifications, default cross-section template, default projection, language units install, ground type table, road class specifications, multiplot layouts, and more. And of course, yes, we will be touching on many of these today. Finally, here it is. Oh, sorry. Finally, as our most unknown topic of the day, let's discuss what an attribute is. Attributes are properties associated with the corridor design. They are very useful and can be used for reporting, labeling, and custom functions. There are three locations where attributes can exist. At station, for example, cross-sections areas, between stations, for example, volumes, and at curves, for example, curve radius. We can create custom attributes that are functions of other attributes to report new functions and can be very useful for costing. For example, we could include reporting information about the cost of the culvert, taking the length of the culvert multiplied by the cost per unit of length. The options and functions here are endless, and we will demonstrate a few examples today. Okay, this is enough from me. Let's pass it over to Emmanuel for the real demonstration. Emmanuel, are you there?
Hello, my name is Emmanuel. Thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. In this short webinar, I'm going to show you how we can customize the configuration in the RoadEng software. In my screen, you can see 4 windows that we have for a project: section, profile, plan, and data window. Normally, we want to define a standard display format for the project. For example, in the plan window, I already added end and beginning points, station for the in the labels. Also, in the profile right now, we have these 2 points and also the specification of the curves on the profile. But let's add some new items. For example, in the plan window, I'm going to add 2 labels. I want to add horizontal IPs and curves, and also horizontal IPs in the profile. Let's add these 2. We can see that for existing IPs, these labels are added. It's possible to copy the format of the existing labels. For example, right now I want to copy the format of the horizontal IP that add curves and paste it into the existing floating labels. Different labels can be added into the plan window. Also in the profile, suppose that I want to add, we have grade. Let's add symbol into the grade. I go to the location setup and then select angle units. So uh, we can see the symbol for the grade is added. So different items uh, are uh, can be changed in the window. Also in the data window, I'm gonna remove cut DP and also grade column. So when oh sorry, I think, yeah. So when I finish working with these display options, it would be useful for me to save this layout and use it in the next projects. So to do that, I just go to View tab and select the Save button. Let's uh, name it Project 1, and this will be the layout format uh, for all of these display options. If I go to screen layout and select another layout, for example, I want to select normal layout, I will see another format. Right now we have just 3 windows with different scale and also with different labels. So if I again want to switch to the previous one, I just select project DLT that I just created uh, for my project, and everything will be brought to my screen. The scale, number of the windows, and labels are exactly those ones that I need in my project. And it's possible to use this layout file in the future for other projects. Another icons that we have in the on the screen are those icons on the top left of the screen. If you want to open a new file or print something, we can use these buttons. It's possible to remove or add them. For example, I want to add print preview into them, and also undo. Uh, I think undo right now is in the list, so let's add also the exit. So as you see, these two buttons are added. This could be useful for those functions and commands that we want to use during the project. The next one, um, the next item that I want to show you today is the Multiplot window. For this project, I already created a format for myself. Here is the plan of the project, and below that we have the longitudinal profile. I already set the font size, scale, and other thing. Right now we have 2 chapters. The first one is the 4 cross sections of the road, and we have 3 pages. And the next chapter is for plan and profile. So I'm interested to save as these book layout that contains both chapters and use it for another project. So I just click on the Save Book Layout, and again it's possible to save this file as an external file like a layout file. This would be a BLT file, and then I can have it in my library and use it in the future. But suppose that I want to switch to another book layout. I just click on the open book layout and select another BLT file, and here I can see the other book layout that I defined for another project. Again, we have cross-section and plan and profile on the window. Another option that's available is just copying and importing a chapter. Right now we have 2 chapters here. That's for section and the other one is for plan and profile. I want to add another a chapter here. Let's add chapter template 1, and this one is for the cross sections, and I can compare it easily with the existing chapter that I have in the book layout, and so it's very easy to delete one of them and use the other one that could be more useful and according to the format that we need in the designing process. So that was a very short explanation about the multiplot. For next step, let's go to the grant types. It's possible to define different grant types in the project. Right now for this project, I already defined I think 7 grant types. I go to Home tab and click on the grant type button. As you see, different items can be defined for each grant type. For example, for gravel, I define cut and fill slope to be 66.7%. Expansion factors also can be defined for grant type. On the cost tab, also the cost for each cubic yard for excavation and embankment right now are set to 12 and 4. And also the quality factor right now is set to 2. Let's change it to 3. And these are different grant types that we have in a project, and we are interested to keep them and save them and use it in another one. So let's save as this file as a GDX file. Again, I changed the name to project 1, so I could have all of these grant types in this file. And now if I open another GDX file, for example, normal GDX file, I will see different grant types here, and you see that the quality factor is different from the previous one, and seems that we have different grant types here in the file. Again, I can switch to my GDX file and have the grant types that I need in my project. Yeah, this one was another external file that could be useful during the design, and the other one is a template. Usually template editor window is pretty working with a template editor window is very time consuming. We need to define different components for cross sections. Sometimes we should spend a couple of hours to change the thickness or width of the roads, define base and sub-base layers, and change the slopes, and prepare the accurate cross-section that we need in a project. So it could be a good idea always to save this template. For example, right now, let's get rid of other templates. I just want to save existing templates. It's possible to save just one template or all available templates. So I click on all of these templates and then click OK. These are the TPL files. Again, I want to name them as project 1. I save as this file. So this TPL file will be in my library and I can use it in next step. Let's open another TPL file. For example, I want to select normal TPL, and here we could see different templates that are in that file. And again, if I want to switch to project 1, I will see just 3 templates that was available in the previous template file. So as you see, when you work on your template and you change different specifications in the components of this template, you can save them and use it in the future steps for other projects. Okay, for the next step, let's go to uh, attributes. Let's have a definition for the attributes. Attributes are information associated with a point, feature, or an entire train file. So here we have different stations, and for example in the data window I want to add cut and fill, and also I want to have the elevation for the center line of the road here. For each station, we could see the elevation and also the amount of cut and fill. Some attributes are defined at station attributes. So for example, for the elevation of the center line, we can see the amount of this attribute exactly on the row. But for those attributes that are defined at between stations attributes, the numbers are not set exactly on each row, and you see that for the second and third column, those numbers are set between two rows. So these are attributes that are defined between two stations, and of course it's clear that, for example, for a cut or fill volume, this attribute is defined between two stations, so we cannot define it as an attribute at a station. Attributes basically are pretty flexible in our software. It's possible to define also a new attribute. For example, I want to add another column here and define another attribute that could be, for example, elevation +1. So I just go to Setup tab. I click on the location setup, and if I go to attribute, I can see that here it's possible to add an attribute. Let's add another attribute. I want to call it CL elevation 2. Let's copy this and use it also for the heading and also for the description. And it's at a station attribute because for each point we have a specific elevation, and the function could be defined here. We have a very nice option here. It's possible to search and find the appropriate existing attribute and define a new function. For example, here I want to add elevation to 1, and let's change it to 2, and then I want to click OK. So right now CL elevation 2 is in my attributes. It could be very nice if sometimes we want to use existing attributes and we want to do some calculation and define new functions. So let's click OK. Right now CL elevation 2 it's added in my attribute list, and I can use the CL elevation 2 into my existing column in the data window. So it could be very useful during the design process to define new attributes. This is a new option that we added in the new versions. And another and of course it's possible to copy data to the clipboard, and then I can paste it into the Excel, and if I want to do some more calculation and use these numbers for designing, the data are copied into the clipboard and it's possible to use them. The other thing that could be useful is working with the road class specification bottom. Usually in the road projects we have some super elevations or widening. Let's click on the super elevation, and we can see that the first column is the radius and first row is the design speed. I think this file is designed according to ASCII. So it's very easy to change one of these files and change it to the appropriate standard that we want to use in the project. Let's open another file. For example, I want to open superannuation run of Emacs here, and we can see new numbers. It's also possible to, let's take a look to one of these files. I already opened one of these TBL files. You can see that these files can be imported into Notepad, and we can easily change all of these numbers. For example, I want to change it to 165, and then if I save as this file, again, it's possible to open the new file and use it as a super elevation. So, and also it could be for widening or transition lens file. So as you see, the road specification bottom is pretty flexible. Okay, sorry. And another option that we have, I think it could be useful also for you, is in the train module. In the train module, we usually work with different server files, CSV or ASCII files. And normally server files have different formats. For example, for some files, we have X in the first column, Y in the second, and Z in the last column. Sometimes we have some note, codes, or comments in the file. It's very interesting if we could have a specific format for example, an ASCII file. Right now, here on the screen, if I click on the Add button, it's possible to select the option type and change it to ASCII. I want to call it to ASCII 2. And if I click on the details button, I can see that right now X is the first column, Y is the second, and Z is the third column. If I have any specific comment or code in this file, I can change these numbers and use it as the standard format. Also, it's possible to test the ASCII file or CSV file before importing. So if I open the file, open an ASCII file, I can see the X, Y, and Z before importing into the train module and check if there is any problem. Of course, it's possible to change these numbers. So this format will be a future ASCII format. When I open a train file, I will see this format ASCII 2, and the XYZ columns and comments and codes are defined according to those formats that I need. So there is no need to define these columns on each step.
All right. Do we have a question here, Emmanuel, for you? It's how do you change the L station to a different format? For example, 1 plus XXXXX.
Yeah, that's a very good question. For example, in the plan view, if I right click on the screen and select plan options, I select the plus button, and here uh, in the plan labels window, it's possible to change the format. For example, for horizontal IPs at CARES, I want to change size from 9 to 11, and I want to change color to orange. Also, suppose that we want to add symbol. I just go to option and click on the edit button, and here I want to add M that shows the radius. I click OK and then click OK, and yeah, if again I click OK, I can see that the formats are according to those format that I need uh, in the project. You see that M is added and the color is changed to the orange. So we can easily change the format of the labels on the plan or profile window.
Thank you, Manuel. We have another question here. Where did you go to bring out the road class specifications window?
For road class specification, we should just go to horizontal curve tabs, and if in the horizontal curves we can see the road class specifications, and it's possible to change different items, for example the maximum and minimum grades, or the reaction time, or eye high. Also the super elevation, widening, transition length, and maximum side friction file could be saved or imported and be used in a project. And I should say that all of these external files like template files, GDX files, or layout files should be saved in a folder. If I go to location setup and in the install tab, I can see the location of the folder that all of these external files would be saved. It's possible to define this location in the network, so all engineers can use uh, available files like layout or template files and use them simultaneously in their projects. It's easy to change it, and it could be useful, especially for companies that are working with different engineers and they have different departments.
I think we still have time for one more question. Is do I lose my default import specifications when I download a new version?
No, when you uh, install a new version, it's possible to also use these files again. So the format of the file, like TPL file or GDX files, are not changed. So for new projects also you can use the existing files, existing external files that you have. So there is no need to define new files.
All right. If anybody else have more questions, you can send us to our email support@softtree.com. Emmanuel, I want to thank you. It has been a great webinar today. And thank you everybody for joining us. And remember, you will see this recording in our YouTube channel. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.